This book is called My Name is Georgia, a portrait by Jeanette Winter. This recording is for educational purposes only. If you like this book, buy a copy and donate it to your local school or children's organization. Here are some words you will hear in the story. The first is still life. This is a painting where things are sitting still. It is not a painting of a person or of the outdoors usually. This is a Model A. It is a Ford car from a long time ago. Georgia drives one and sometimes uses it as her studio, the place where she paints. The purple shape you see here is a mountain called the Pedernal in English. This is a mountain in northern New Mexico where Georgia lived. Georgia O'Keeffe was born on a farm in Wisconsin in 1887. When I was 12 years old, I knew what I wanted: to be an artist. I've always known what I wanted. When I was small, I played alone for hours and hours and hours. I was satisfied to be all by myself. I did things other people don't do. When my sisters wore sashes, I didn't. When my sisters wore stockings, I wore none. And when my sisters wore braids, I let my black hair fly. I rode to town every Saturday to copy pictures from the stack in the art teacher's cupboard. At home, I looked out my window and drew pictures of what I saw. Maybe I could make something beautiful. At school in Chicago, I drew from statues in the museum. At school in New York, I painted one still life painting a day, every day. At school, I painted my teacher's ideas. But when school days were over, I went out into the wide world to discover my own ideas. I went to the Texas plains, the wild west of my childhood books. You have never seen sky. It is wonderful. I walked into the sunset. I felt the wind across the plains. And I painted the sunset and the sky and the wonderful loneliness and emptiness of the place. I painted day and night. I worked till my head felt light in the top. I have things in my head that are not like what anyone has taught me, shapes and ideas. But I bundled up my paintings and went to New York City to be where other artists lived. I walked down in the canyons of steel. I lived high up in the clouds and painted what I saw from my window. But sometimes what I saw from my window was the far away calling me. I painted a garden in the city. I wanted everyone to see flowers the way that I saw them. I looked closely at the flowers. I painted a camellia. I painted it big so people would notice. I painted a flower called a jack-in-the-pulpit. I painted it big so people would see. I painted poppies and petunias and sunflowers and jimson weeds and irises and apple blossoms. My garden bloomed until everyone saw the flowers the way I saw them. But still, I looked to the sky. The distance has always been calling me. I went to the New Mexico desert, so far away that no one ever comes. I was satisfied to be all by myself. It was too dry for flowers to grow, but there were bones. I gathered the bones, big bones, little bones, short bones, long bones, a cow's skull, a horse's skull, a ram's skull, and brought the bones home to paint. One day I held one up against the sky and saw the blue through that hole. I painted what I saw. I saw the sky and the red hills. I walked the hills at daybreak and twilight, at noon and in starlight. I painted the arms of two red hills, reaching out to the sky and holding it. I painted the Pedernal Mountain in the faraway. I painted it over and over and over again, and then again and again. God told me that if I painted that mountain enough, He'd give it to me. I drove my Model A across the desert and back, and up and down over the hills. I painted in my studio on wheels until the afternoon bees chased me home. Even in winter, I went out into the faraway and painted in the bitter cold. I painted when the wind was so strong it nearly blew me away. I did things other people don't do. I climbed my ladder to the night sky to wait for the sun. I slept under the stars to see the morning sky when I woke. I stayed in the desert. My hair turned from black to gray to white as the bones. I still walked the red hills. My piles of bones grew. My flowers bloomed in the desert, and the Pedernal was mine. And the sky. Oh, it was still wonderful. I painted the sky one more time. I painted my sky big, so people would see the sky the way I did. I worked from dawn till dusk, every day for weeks and months. Then, as I painted the last cloud, the sun slipped behind the Pedernal. I laid my brushes down. Kiss the sky for me. Georgia O'Keeffe lived to be 98 years old. In museums all across the land, people see her flowers, deserts, hills, cities, and skies the way she did.